Kumlana Bava Kama Daf, we are up to Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. So first we had a whole discussion between the Marava and Rabbi Yechanan, and with Marava says that the person has to have intention. The vendor has to intend that the person who's getting it is standing before him. He knows exactly who it is. According to Rabbi Yechanan, it doesn't. And there's one discussion which we'll come back to. And the last thing we learned about was Rav Sheshes and Abaye trying to interpret a brisa where this person went to this vendor and he bought a property and he put it on the name of the Reish Gelusa to protect himself, even though he himself was a buyer. And according to Rav Sheshes, what happened here was the question is whether we forced the Reish Gelusa to actually, give him a correct star, and to make it out to the name of this buyer. Who, because it seems from here that the buyer is ultimately not the Reish Gelusa. The buyer is the person who gave the balamais, and that's why they want to bring this. It seems that this argues with Marava, because here it seems that the vendor thinks the property is ending up with the Reish Gelusa, and yet we're saying really it belongs to this person, the balamais, one who gave the money. But then we said it's talking about a case where he actually revealed to the vendor what his intentions are, so the vendor knew that it's going to him. But the star is written in the name of the Reish Gelusa, so that if anybody comes to try to take the field, he just shows them who's the real owner of the field. They will run away. Nobody's going to stop with the Reish Gelusa.
I thought that's so that the Meicher will feel like he's selling to the Reish Gelusa.
Why the Meicher is not going to take the field back? He has to reimburse him if he takes it back. It's strangers out there who are going to come along and say, "Hey, that field belongs to the Meichers are gone." But if he shows them that the owner of the Reish Gelusa, nobody's going to start up with him. But the vendor knew. So it's nothing to do with the case of my rubber there. The vendor knew. But if he made it tonight, then we forced the Reish Gelusa, and we more ask doesn't make sense. How in the world can you force Reish Gelusa? Why should you get involved with else's problems? So the Abaye says same story, but and the stars made out the Reish Gelusa, but we're talking about the vendor. Do we force the vendor to write a second document saying that the property really belongs to the Baal HaMais? So if he didn't make it tonight, the guy doesn't have to do it, even though it's Pshita, the Gemara says. But he said, "Look, I gave you money. You know that." You know what's going on there. So it's as if I made up with you. You're going to write me a second star. The one is just to show, to push away, repel all those people who want to, complain. And the other one is a real star. And the Chiddush says, no, if you didn't make it up, you didn't make it up. And he said, I thought you were going to work it out with Reish Gelusa. Leave me out. But if you made it tonight, then you have to. And the Chiddush of that is, even though he spoke to the agents, he said, I thought you spoke to the agents, they should go to Reish Gelusa and organize it. So I never really agreed to this tonight. That once you make it tonight, you make it tonight. So up to the Gemara here. We are up to the middle of the page and of Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph, Kumlan Bava Kama Daf. The story goes as follows. Rav Kahana, Yoav Zuzah, he once gave money, he once gave money to buy a garment, and L'Seif Ayaker Kista. At the end, the garment went up in value. He didn't yet take the garment. He didn't take ownership of the garment yet. The garment went up in value. Zovnei Maris of the Kista. So the owner of the garment thought he'll do it. No, he thought he'll do a kind of favor. He'll sell the garment and give it. Ravkana paid $100 for the garment, and now it's worth $200. So he thought he'll do him a favor. I'll sell it and he'll make $100 profit. Now, because Ravkana right now gave him money, so the guy owes him a debt. Either pay him back or give him something. Because he wasn't koine yet the Kisner, and he's getting $200 back. It looks like ribas. It looks like you lent him $100, and you purchased something. You lent him $100, and he's giving back $200. That's a problem. So also coming to the Rab, my avid. What can I do here? I never got a hold of the shirt, so I gave him the $100, and he gave me back $200. Is it a problem that it looks like ribas? It looks like interest, even though it wasn't that way because it was a purchase. So he said to him, my avid, can I take my money? Amalei ikazavne amri high kisa de kanu. When he sold the shirt, if he told the people who bought it, guys, this shirt belongs to Rav Kahana, so it's pure sale. So you made a profit. Good luck. Zilshkoil, why not? Aber if these buyers who are sort of selling the money, that's what they're doing. They're giving money. If these buyers did not know that ultimately this money belongs to Rav Kahana, so they thought that the money is going to this person. So the sale has nothing to do with Avkana. So then it does look like Avkana gave $100, getting back $200. But he's not involved in the sale because the people they didn't know Avkana is involved, which sounds like that the people who are selling an object need to know who the ultimate buyer is. But like Marava said, who told the Balachitin that who the owner of the chitin is. So here also, because they didn't know that the money is going to end up with Rav Kahana, they thought that if their product is money, and these buyers who are buying the shirt and they're giving money, that so we see clearly you have to know. Come on, Kibnei Marava. It sounds like this follows Bnei Marava that have to have intention not only for the kinyan but to who is ending up with the kinyan. Who's going to reveal to them on the wheat that who the ultimate buyer is here? So that they're selling money. That's what they're doing. The people are buying this garment. They're selling money, and as far as they know, the money is the one who sold the garment. Don't do Rav Kahana. So you see, like Marava. So the Gemara. What are you talking about? Gemara says, is there a loan? To me, you're kind of arba v'shakol tamna. What do you call it? The whole story here doesn't make sense. The story is a little bit different. You think of Kana didn't own the shirt, and therefore it looks like ribis. That's not what happened here at all. It's not what happened. That the shirt itself went up in value. The shirt itself went up in value. So if the shirt went up in value, whose shirt went up in value? Of Kahana. Let's understand the whole story.
He just hasn't collected.
Yeah, we talked about that as if he lent money. Who lent money? He bought a shirt with the money, just because the shirt is not in front of him, but the shirt is his. So wherever the shirt is, the shirt goes up in value. It's his shirt, and he sold it, made a profit. That's what selling is. So where is what's going on here? How did he be? How's he getting into the picture? Navas, this balabas then took the shirt that belonged to Rav Kahana and sold it without Rav Kahana's permission. What does that make this balabas? A ganef. And what's in by ganef? You have to pay shirt. Yeah. Yeah, this is a gazan. This guy did it openly, so it's not a ganef surreptitiously. A gazan. He has to pay kishas gzela. The moment he sold it, what was the shirt worth? Not what he paid for it, but it's worth $200. No, so he's paying it $200. Where does Ribit come in? Everything is right. He can collect the $200 because the guy's a ganef. The shirt belongs to Rav Kahana, and that's it. Migzul Gaz, he's a Gazan, but now we learn that for the owner of the garment originally, who didn't get, who's still holding on to the garment, is a Ganef, has no right to sell the Rav Kahana shirt. And to the Gemara, Amri, we say, the story is, Rav Kahana does not own the garment yet. Rav Kahana did it on faith. In other words, the guy didn't have the garment in his possession. This is how Rashi learns. There's a little problem there. The Ghana didn't have the Ghana, this owner of the garment did not have the garment in possession. So now it's a loan. When he gave him the $100 to buy the shirt, because you don't have the shirt in possession right now, it's a loan. And therefore, if he gives it back to him $200, it looks like ribis. But when does it look like ribis? If the payers were there, b'shas ma'isa, just he didn't pick it up. And then by the time I pick it up, the payers are worth a lot more. Or you give me other payers, but the payers were there, b'shas ma'isa, like Imran says. Okay, so then there's no ribas here because it's just a product. I bought this. The product is mine, and my product went up in value. But because the payers were not in existence at the time, the garment wasn't there at the time. So it's like a loan. I gave you the money, but I have nothing for it in return. So it's like a loan. That's called a mona, an act of faith that you're going to give it to me. And therefore, and I made up with you. I'm giving you the money now. The price today for wool is $100 a kilo. Oh, this garment today is $100. In 3 months now, I don't care what the price is. That's the price we have. And then 3 months now, it goes up to $200. He's allowed to take it. It's not like ribas because it's as if I bought it now. Even though Rashi is learning that the garment is not present. Today's learning the garment is present, he doesn't pick it up. But Rashi learning the garment is not present because that's actually a machlekes and ezer neshech. If the item I want to buy is not here right now, do we say it's already a sale and therefore if it goes up in value, good on you? Or do we say because the garment lepoil is not here, because the garment is not here right now, all it is a loan, and therefore I'm getting more back for my money than. But the fact that he has nothing. No, the people prepay. People prepay, and the lepoil, by the time you pick up the goods, it's worth a lot more than what you paid. Is that a question of ribas? How do we view the money that you did? There's a whole shaila in halacha.
We should take into account market fluctuation that I know in 4 months' time.
Don't mind it. Who knows what the market will be in 4 months? There's a big shaila in halacha. We'll talk more about it in Esher. If you buy a discount, the price is $100, but if you pay today, it's $85. Is that the case of ribas? Because I'm giving you the money early that you can use the money, and for that you're paying me back an item. You're giving me 15%, or whatever it is that the big shaila in halacha how to do that? Anyway, let's get back here. So therefore, but the mashkal of kind of kisses, so kind of owned the thing, and that's why it's a shaila b'libasir. But Rabbi Tamei Damarav oitzir amon of potatoes. You're allowed to do that with potatoes. If the fruits are, if you talk about fruits, a commodity is one thing. But if you talk about money, and that's what these people are giving money. By money, it looks just like libas. You can't do that. But I'll give you money today, you back money later. But when it comes to a commodity like potatoes, you can do that. Second Mishnah, if you steal your friend's fruit, now we learned in the beginning of Yikra, but if you steal something and then you steal or you lend money and you or pekadon and you swear you don't have it, and then you're murdered. The key factor is you have to be murdered that you swore false. So then you pay a penalty. First you pay back the principal, then you pay a penalty of a fifth, a chaimish, which really is a quarter, the way we calculate things, and then you have to bring a carbon asham. All this because you swore false. So you stole from your friend the pruta, obviously you have to return to him. The nish baloy, and you swore you never took it, and then you made it that you're a liar, you swore false. You have to pay him back the principal and the fifth. You should go after him. Even if he lives Ekveld, he lives in your huppets, you have to go all the way there to return. You have not done tshuva until you give it back directly to the nignas, to the victim. You can't give it to the son and then the son brings it back to his father, because if the son loses the money on the way, it's not like you gave it back to the father yet, because you stole from this person you got. Said the pasuk, "Loy," you have to give it back to that person. He didn't do that. So interesting from this pasuk, if we say not a shliach, the guy said the shliach. If the shliach loses it, you haven't fulfilled it yet. If you learn a shliach kamayis means it's mamish the mishalech, then why can't you say that he gave it back to him? Unless because of trying to emphasize the word loy. Why is it the word loy to him, as if to say lafuke, even someone that's almost like him, like a shliach. But if it's very far away and you can't, whatever, you can give it to a shliach bezin. I think that's with me. You can give it to a shliach bezin and he'll hold it. Pesha says shliach bezin cannot mean that. Then give it to the bezin. What shliach bezin? Shliach bezin means that you can send it with a shliach bezin to. You can send it with a shliach bezin to the nigna's house. Because the bezin is if this guy's a shliach bezin, then we're lenient and we say, okay, it's as if you return it. Okay, you made the effort to give it to a specific person, shliach bezin. Be mace, but if the nigna, the victim, died, then yachzul yosher, then you give it to theirs, because there they take over. Nosan loy esakeren. What happens? You gave the principal, but you gave the principal, but you did not give the penalty. But if you gave the principal already, you don't have to slap the mother anymore. Or the guy who's meichel you on the cat and the principal as if you return to him. But she was meichel on the penalty. And he was meichel on this and on this. Everything, but I still want back a pruta. You stole 100 prutas worth of my thing. Give me back this one pruta. I want you to feel the pain. You don't have to go back to him. As long as most of the principal is gone, you don't have to go back to him. Nosla is a chemish, the other way around. He paid the penalty, but below Nosla is a kenan. The main thing is that you have to go to the person and reimburse him is the kenan, the principal. So if you paid everything else, but you did not pay the principal, Mochla ala chemish la mochla kenan was meichel, but now the principal mochla alzeva, chutzah shofru the kenan. Then before was how much was left in principal, less than a shav pruta. For less than a shav pruta, you don't have to make your way because expenses will be greater than what you owe. But if it's a shav pruta, then you have to go there to mother. It doesn't matter what he was meichel. Nosel as a keren. Now, what happens? We had this a few times. What happened? He gave the principal, and we had some of them. He gave the principal the nishbul el chaimish, and he gave the principal, and he swore for. What happened was he swore false, and he had to pay a chaimish. He gave the principal, but when he came to chaimish, he said, "Baba Mice, it never happened." Or he gave it to you, whatever he said. He made some kind of shur, and then he's made he lied. You got to be now a fifth of the fifth. Until what point? Why would we do that? Don't know. Until finding the penalty. Yeah, the principle. What's the principle? The principle is that which a minute ago was the punishment is now became the principle. The moment Bezdin levied on you, now it's no longer a penalty. Now this is what you owe. But still, that amount is less than a principle. Yeah, no idea why a person would do that. When it comes to an item that you're holding on, the same thing. Because the pasuk says that it's not only when you stole something and you swore false. It says in the pasuk if you deny by a pekadon, he gave you, they came to your hand legally, but now you swore false about it. Oy b'shum is out alone, came to you legally. Oy begezel, or stolen. Oy oshigas hamid, you robbed your friend. Oy matzah, you found an object. Same thing. It's the shvua that brings out this penalty. The kichish boy, and he denied all of these things. V'nishba al shekis were false. You pay all that. Says the Gemara. It seems to me that nishba lo'in, the only reason by the Ghana, just like everybody else, that you have to pay this penalty and why you have to schlep all the way to Moda is talking about not schlepping the Moda. It seems from the Mishnah why you have to schlep all the way to Moda is because you swore false. If you did not swear false, lie. In other words, it sounds from the Mishnah, it's not because you're a Ganef, and therefore you have to return it. A Ganef, you can give it to the bezin, or I can hold the money, so I'm ready to give it back. You come here, I'll give it to you. But exactly, it's the shvua that warrants it. Why? Because the pasuk says that you have to pay back law, you have to give it back to this person. Because it says, La asher hu lo yitnenu, the Torah says by a shvua, you swore false, and then you're made. That's a lie. So that's what I guess drives you to go to Modeh. So, but it's the shvua. So we have a problem. If so, the Chayda, who's also a Mishnah, Mani, like Rav Tarfon, doesn't fit into Rav Tarfon, doesn't fit into Rabbi Akiva. What's it Rav Tarfon? What's Rabbi Akiva? We learned this a couple of times. One guy stole from 5 people, but the 80 days he has no idea who he stole it from. Yeah, exactly. That's from Mazel. They're just as bad as you. Each one is a ganef as well, because 4 of them are liars, and only one that's telling the truth. So anyway, but he's stuck now because he owes definitely one person money, and this is not a case of l'chayda. L'chayda, you can argue this is a body of a shema, body that you owe money. Shema, I don't know who, and we have a machlekes, and according to one opinion, body of Shema, body other. But it's a taser explaining other. Here, there's a body. He knows for sure he does not owe more than one person. So it's not body of a shema, it's body of a body, because he's getting 5 claims for the one geneva that he did. So it's a body of a body. You think that telling the truth? So there's 5 genevim hanging around. Okay, could be. Okay, let's look down with Kavschus. And the so what's Abtafra say? Abtafra says the main thing of tshuva of gzeil is get it out of your rishus. Not that you have to give it back to the nigzel. That's to do with the shur. You have to get it out of your shus. So you take it out, put it on the table, and say, "Okay, guys, fight it out," or somebody bring proof that this is yours. That's what Abtafra. Akiva says no. Akiva says the main tshuva of geneva is to actually give it back to the very person you stole it from. And we had a whole sugi that you brought the sheep back, you have to notify the owner you brought it back or not. So on. And Akiva says, Loi zu derech moitziyosim v'ne'aveda. That's not how you do tshuva. Aji shalom zelech b'cholecha, because you don't know. And in order to do tshuva, you have to give it back to the real owner. There's only one way of doing it. Pay each one out. You don't like it, don't steal it. Now, the problem is, who's also a Mishnah? Money. If it's Abtarfin, Abtarfin seems to say the main thing is you get rid of it. So even if you made a shul and you admitted that you lied, so you owe a chayim penalty, put it down on the table, the ken and the chayim, put it there, walk away. The main thing is I no longer have it. How much does it got to go slap to mother? It can't be Abtarfin. Even though Abtarfin does not talk about shul, but we understand what's the difference, shul and not shul. See Abtarfin, I've got this taba. I'm since I'm not going to all the way to mother. I'm going to put it down over here and take care of it. If it's Rabbi Kiva holds that even without a shvua, if you steal, you need the only way you can do shvua is by giving it back to the victim. Even if you didn't swear, you would have to go to mother. See, Rabbi Kiva, I've got the leishtaba. Amar, he says, "Achi shalom zayla l'chol echad ve'echad." And our mission says the only time you have to go to mother is if you swore, because that's the example of the mission. So the mother has 2 ways of answering him. Maybe the author of our mission is Rabbi Kiva. So how come we talk about shvua? It's irrelevant. The Chika Amar Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Kiva himself. You know what Rabbi Kiva says that this guy has to give out the gzeil to each one, not for the gzeil itself. That I give you time from. Once you got it's out of your shus, you're no longer a gazan. You know why? He's talking about a case where he swore false to these people. Only when you swore. even though it doesn't mention in the case. That's Rabbi Akiva's case. That one that you swore. And that's why you make him, because he swore and then he was made that he swore false. First, he had never stole it. And then he's made that he swore false. He has to pay each one. It's the shua. So our mission says when the shua, it says, law, you have to give it back. Only by shua. Yeah. And since we had in beginning of Megillah that all the Mishnah stam we learned like Rabbi Akiva, so we try to learn that the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva. Said your mother, my time, when it comes to shua, it says la asher lahu loy. Give it back to the person. The yemashmos the day that is guilty. Even though he swore, even if he swore, you don't have to go over there. The pasuk says, how can you argue the pasuk? The Rabbanan made a takana. Remember we had before to encourage people to do tshuva. If you're going to make him schlep all the way to Madai, he won't even be meidah. He knows the consequences. He's not going to be meidah. So therefore, since he doesn't know who he stole from, if we're going to make him pay each one, he won't admit it. So what do we gain? Let him, to encourage his tshuva, let him put the money down. So he's paying back his tshuva, and let them work out who owns the money. So this is a special takana we made, Lekanas Hashavim. Guys, you want to write? Tanya Blazer Rabbi Yisrael Gaimer. Rabbi says takana gedola. The first one, I know why I use the word takana gedola. Made a great big takana is kinoshim hoisa hoitza yiseda ala keren. What happens if the expenses to go to Modai is greater than what he owes? He owes $100, it costs $200 to get back and forth to Modai. Mishalim keren lechemish lebezin. We made it easy for him. Go and give it to the bezin. Umaybe Hashem umischapelay. Even though the victim did not receive it yet in return, the Torah Shaloi, the Chachamim said that the kapara is there. How can? But if the Torah clearly says that you have to give Lasher who lo yitnenu, how can the Chacham come along and say, you know what, we're going to make it, you don't have to go back to the before kapara?
Interesting, because we seem to have this in many places that it's more about how does the Torah achieve his kapara more than how does the nigzel get restitution.
It's the same problem you always have right now. We're always worried about the criminals, not the victims. Yep. But here it's monetary. We're talking about monetary. Unless the pshat is that the bezin has the koyach to say that we are them. Not that we're changing the Torah. We're being, the takana is, because Hefke bezin, Hefke and all that kind of stuff, it's as if he got the money ready. Maybe we're employing the rule of Hefke bezin, Hefke, that when we take the money, we get the money here. In theory, that person already got it. There is Ashalai. We fulfill the Ashalai because we represent everybody. Rabbi Akiva says, when do we say takana? When you know who the ganef is. So Bezin can stand in to say, we are standing here for the nigzel. They know exactly who the ganef is. But for us, it costs too much to go over there to give back the money. And therefore the Bezin can stand in the place. Over here, when we don't know who the nigzel is, then we have no brainer. How can we say we represent or whatever it is? We have to give it back. So therefore, you have to give each one back. That's one version. But because over here, you're not giving it back to the original person. Therefore, we're make it mostly. But Abun asked the question by Yehuda. So now we're saying the mission is Rabbi Akiva. When does Rabbi Akiva say that you have to pay everyone back? Only when you swore false and then you were murdered. Mostly, but says elsewhere, it says, if they bought. What happened? You bought something. If all these stalls standing there, and you bought something. Then you day, amazing look, and you can't read all some of the same things, and you just can't remember which stall you bought it from. And obviously, every one of them says you bought it from me. He puts the money of the purchase down there. No, nobody argues that he can walk away. Why? Because he did not do an aveda here. Maybe he didn't swear. He did not do aveda here, so why pay more than whatever once? So he just puts it down. What are they arguing? He did something illegally. Now we're not talking about shul here. That's the point. You just said that Akiva's whole din is only arguing with Tarfin when he made a shul and he's made it. We're talking about here Mekach. No shua here. He said I don't remember where I bought it from. Came to my hand legally, so I'm putting the money down. But stealing because it came to your hand illegally, that's where machlekes. It's enough to walk away. But the Kiva says, you didn't have it, you have to do tshuva. Now you're telling me that it's talking about a shua, that the whole thing of being able by a shua, which means the case of buying something is also a case of he swore I did. He swore what? I never bought it. He swore something like that. I never bought it, and then he's made it that he lied. But if he swore false, and that's why you have to give each vendor back the money, not because you bought from one person, you know who, but because he swore false. Then what's the chilik in the case if he bought something? Or if the aveda is the shvua, then the aveda is the same in both cases. If you tell me that we're not talking about a case of shvua. One case is he stole, he doesn't remember who, and one case he bought, doesn't remember who. And I understand the distinction. When you bought it, you did nothing wrong. You just can't remember who you bought it from. So we say put the money down and they'll work it out. Stole, you didn't have Ada. Pay up, Rabbi Kiva says. But if you tell me that the reason why Rabbi Kiva says you have to pay each person out because you swore false, and then you made it. So who cares? It came, the money came illegally. It's irrelevant. The money, the relevance is the shvua here. That's question number one. Boy, another question is Moshe Rabba asked the question. There's a story with a chassid. He bought something from two people. He couldn't remember who he bought it from. They came before the Tarfin to ask what to do. And he said to him, no, Rav Shimon Lazar says they're only arguing in the case of stolen, not in the case of buying. And here, this town here argues and says no. Even in the case of buying something, Rav Tarfon Kiva argue. What's the case there? What happened was Chassid bought something. He bought. Just remember who he bought it from. So what did Tarfon say? Put the money down and walk away. He came for Akiva. What should I do? He said to him, there's nothing you could do. Buy each one. And therefore, this town says that they're arguing also by buying. You said that only arguing in the case of stealing is also by buying. But the Mishtabah, if you're telling me the only cases the guy swore, Chosid mi Mishtabah b'shikr. We're talking about a case where the guy lied and said, I never bought it. Which Chosid swears false, even lying, but swearing. Maybe he's a Rosh person, came about Shuvah, became a Chassid. So here's a raya that even though we say the Gemara Sukkah says that a Chassid is a Chassid Mikari, we have the Chassidim, they dance by Shich B'Sheva. Here the Gemara clearly says that somebody who's about Shuvah can be a Chassid equal to the best. It can be like a Chassid. The Gemara said, you're right, it could be, but the problem thing is, we have a rule. Whenever it says in the Gemara, there's a Maisa with a Chassid, who is this Chassid? Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Rabbi Yehuda ben Eloi, who were Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Rabbi Eloi, Chasidim Mikarav, they were tzaddikim from birth. That's the problem. So about shuvah being a chassid, pay your anything about here. This is the lie that about shuvah being a chassid.
Just happens to be that we're not talking about it.
No, he is. I mean, yeah. In this case, we're not talking about it. Yes, because Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Rabbi Yehuda ben Eloi, they're not. They're right. The Gemara says, so we go back. So we don't like. So you who want to learn the Mishnah Rabbi Kiva is saying Rabbi Kiva is limited only to the case of shua. We knocked it out. Eloi Rab Tarfon, the author of our Mishnah Rab Tarfon. Rab Tarfon says clearly that you just walk away. You don't have to go schlep all the way to Mudden or anything. Rab Tarfon, it's Rab Tarfon. He's arguing Rabbi Kiva in a normal case of stealing. And the question is whether by Mekach as well or not. But when a case, but if you swore false, there because of the shua, on account of the shua, you have to then go schlep all the way to Mudde. Why should it be different? Because of that possibility. My time is over. You have to go there on that day. But Rabbi Kiva, Afagav the loy mishtaba comes. Kiva holds that even if he didn't swear, you have to go schlep to Mudde. But Tarfon, now I ask an interesting question. Tarfon, remember the whole thing is you swore false. And then you have to be made. If Adam say it caught you out, you don't pay that extra, all these penalties. Okay, you walk forward and you made it. You have a problem. Even if you didn't swear, if you're made like this. In other words, let's see in a second. The only time you swear false and you pay the penalty is you're made afterwards that you swore false. So why does it say he swore? I feel below Shunami. If he had to be made, the Haidah itself makes him pay to every one of the victims. Why? The Tanya of the Braisa. When does Abtarfin say that you only put the money down as you were caught? You were caught. But if you were contrite and you were made that you stole from somebody, you don't remember who, but I stole from one of you guys. They made some, I don't remember who. Abtarfin says if you are contrite and you want to do tshuva, you can't forward yourself. Then the only way to do tshuva is give it back to everybody. No, so what do you need tshuva for? The only time that the din of shvuah is that you have to pay penalties is if you're made afterwards. Look, I stole it and I swore false. But if he's made even without the shvuah, you have to pay to everybody. How can the author of Mishnah be able to top? You don't have to pay everybody back. Only if he was caught. Only if it was a shvuah and he was made. And now Mishnah talking about that case. Shekar Hoyd ben Be'az was already made, and therefore he wants to do the right thing. Okay, in a court of law, we can't force him, but you want to do the right thing. The ball lots they should mind. We tell you, go ahead and pay. Ella Omarova Shiny Mastis Mishnah is different. The key with the Yoda Leman Gozle in our Mishnah, you know exactly who the victim is. But Oidele and you made him. Is Rav saying that we're continuing along the same way that it's Abtarfin, or we're going back to say it could be everybody. Because of the word Ella, the Machlekes is what the greatest Ella always means we're changing our mind. Others say it's a continuation and it's still not Tarfim. And Ella Rabbi says that what? Wait, actually, it makes no difference who it is. You cannot compare a case where you don't know who the victim is, and how much of a case where you do know the victim is. Over there, if you don't know who the victim is, we don't care if you swore, you didn't swear. The Machlekes of Torah, give it how you do tshuva. You don't have to give back to anybody. You don't know who it is anyway. And Abba Kiva says you got to give every single person back, even if you didn't swear. But in our case, we're talking about you know exactly who you stole from, and you want to be Yoitzi, they Shemayim, and you made them. Kivan the Efshel Hadurim Lemore. Since there's a possibility you can do 100% tshuva by giving it back to the person who stole from. As if he's saying to the guy, let it, I'm holding on to it to give it back to you. Hilchach Nishba, he swears, Afagav the Hilchach Nishba. Kiva, and therefore he swears. So okay, you know what? I'm going to do this part here. Let's just make sure I get it right. Machlekes Rashi and Taisus and the Shainim for it mix up. But we'll continue this last part tomorrow. But one thing. So if you're telling me to bolot as a shemaim, you have to give the money back. So why in the case of the chassid before, when they said that they didn't know, he didn't tell them, okay, give it back to both of them, lot as a shemaim. So one of the answers is, when do we say bolot as a shemaim if it came into your hands illegally? There is a case of mekach. What you did was totally legal. But then there's no inyan of bolot as a shemaim. Over here, we're talking about you stole it. You just don't know who you stole it from. So then we say, "B'bolos shemayim." And the Elam Rabba, how we learn it, whether it's Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Tarfon, or